Good morning. This morning we're continuing our devotional series on the do-nots of Jesus in Matthew chapters 6 and 7. And today we come to one of the big ones where Jesus says, do not be anxious about your life. It's hard to talk about this one and not talk about the elephant in the room, and that's the coronavirus. And the cultural level of anxiety and fear has just skyrocketed in the last couple months, and understandably so. So we got to ask the question, why does Jesus say this? Do not be anxious about your life. And what does he even really mean by it? And how do we apply that in this moment of increased anxiety and worry? I think number one, you have to understand Jesus isn't saying that you shouldn't take reasonable precautions when it comes to your life. Now, I would say that there is a big difference between a reasonable level of precaution and the anxiety that Jesus is actually talking about in the midst of these verses. For example, when I get in the car, every single time I get in, before I turn the engine on, I buckle my seatbelt. I do that every single time, not because I'm worried every time I get behind the wheel that I'll get in a car accident. I do it because I know that there's always that possibility, and putting the seatbelt on is a reasonable precaution. I approach life right now in the same way. When I go out to the stores, I'm not worried about catching the virus. But I do know it's a possibility, and so I take reasonable precautions. I'm not going out as often as I would like, and when I go out, I try to keep that social distance between myself and others. So why should you live without fear and anxiety? Number one, Jesus says it's because by worrying, you can't add even a single hour, you could say even a single second, to your life. But living in fear and anxiety, it can rob you of the joy in the time that God has given you here. The number one reason for us as Christians not to fear or be anxious in this time is because Jesus has already dealt with the worst that the devil in this world can throw at us. And that's death. So even if you catch this virus, even if you were to die from it, through Christ, you will live again. And that's cause to rejoice. So I'll leave you with Jesus' words at the end of this passage. He says, therefore, do not be anxious for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. May you have a great day today.